friends, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to make a pumpkin. For this project, you're going to need a 4.5mm crochet hook. You're also going to need some yarn. I'm going to be using 3 strands of this number 1 or number 2 weight yarn. It's adding up to about a number 4 weight when I'm using all 3 of them together. You'll need 2 colors for this one. Some kind of greenish and some kind of orangish. I'm going to be using this hand-dyed blue, green, brown color, and then this bright orange for the pumpkin skin color. You'll also need some scissors, as well as a yarn needle to weave in your ends. We might need some stitch markers also, but I'm not sure yet. So gather your supplies, and let's jump in. So we're gonna start working with the orange yarn. Again, I'm using 3 strands. First things first, I'm going to do a slip knot. From here, chain 20. 1, 2, 3, 19, and 20. Now in the second chain from the hook, 1, 2, I'm gonna do a single crochet. And then single crochet down the chain. At the end of the row, chain 1 and turn. Here I am at the end of the first row. Just gonna put my last single crochet into the last chain stitch, and then I'll chain 1 and turn. Now for row number 2, we're gonna be doing half double crochets. So that means we're yarn over, insert the hook into the first stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. Now that's what we did for the first stitch. For all of the other stitches in the row, except for the last stitch, we're going to half double crochet, but just through the back loop of the stitch. So half double crochet, back loops only, all the way across, but in the last stitch of the row, half double crochet through both loops. By doing the half double crochet through the back loops only, we're going to create a little rib, which will be like the lines on a pumpkin. By putting it through both loops at the beginning and end of the row, we're going to keep the row nice and straight. Here I am at the end of row number 2. I'll put my last half double crochet through the back loop only, and then in the last stitch of the row, I'll put my half double crochet through both loops of the stitch. By the way, you've got a row at this point with 19 stitches in it. So we're doing 1 stitch regular, 17 stitches back loop only, 1 stitch regular. At the end of this row, chain 1 and turn. Now for row number 3, we're going to start with a single crochet in the first stitch of the row as normal. Then for the rest of the stitches, except for the last stitch of the row, we're going to single crochet into the back loops only. 1 single crochet in each stitch across in the back loops only. In the last stitch of the row, we're going to single crochet through both loops. Here I am at the end of row number 3. I'll put my last single crochet through the back loop, and then in the last stitch of the row, I'll do my single crochet through both loops, and then chain 1 and turn. Now you can start to see that ridge forming. For row number 4, we're going to do a half double crochet in the first stitch of the row through both loops, and we're going to do a half double crochet through both loops of the stitch for the last stitch of the row. Otherwise, half double crochet across through the back loops only. Here I am at the end of row number 4. I'm just going to put my last half double crochet through both loops, and then chain 1 and turn. For row number 5, we're going to do single crochets again. So 1 single crochet in the first stitch of the row through both loops, then single crochet across, back loops only, and then 1 single crochet through both loops for the last stitch of the row. From row number 5 all the way up to row number 35, we're going to be doing the exact same 2-row repeat. 1 row of single crochet, 1 row of half double crochet. And we're going to do that back and forth through both loops on the first and last stitch of each of the rows, and then back loops only otherwise, until the work is twice as long as it is wide. So at this point, we've got about a 3-inch wide band. We want to keep working this rectangle until it is about 6 inches long. 6 inches long by 3 inches wide. So I'm going to zoom through this part, and I will see you at the end of row number 35. All right, here I am coming up to the end of row number 35. I'll put my last single crochet in there, and now you can see we've got this lovely rectangle with texture. We've got the little ribs on it. So on one side the ribs are kind of rounded and on the other they're kind of pointy. We're going to be using the pointy side for the outside of the project. So now with the pointy side facing up, we're going to fold the project in half, just like this. So we're going to have the rounded side on the outside, the pointy stuff on the inside, because we're going to turn it inside out. All right, from here, we are going to insert the hook. Let me zoom you in. We're going to insert the hook into the corner of the work where the tail is coming out of, where the initial tail is coming out of, the first stitch. And then we're going to insert the hook into the first stitch on the side with the working loop. Then we'll put the loop back over the hook, just like that, and we'll pull it through so that it's brought to the front of the work, just like this. And now I'm going to lay the tail side over the work because we're going to crochet over it. And then with my working yarn, I'll chain one. Now I'm going to insert the hook into the second stitch on both pieces of fabric, here and here. Then I'll yarn over the hook and pull up a loop, yarn over again, and pull through both loops to create a single crochet that connects both pieces of fabric. And now I'm going to single crochet across the work, single crocheting in both pieces of fabric in order to connect the seam. So I'm single crocheting through both pieces of fabric all the way down the row. Just one single crochet in each stitch all the way down. And that is going to create a really nice covered seam. And I'm crocheting over the tail so that we don't have to worry about a tail at the end of the project, just like this. And I'm going to zoom through the rest of this row and I'll see you when I get to the end of the row. And here is what that seam looks like once we've got it stitched together. It's a nice strong seam. Now we're going to turn the work 90 degrees so that we are going to be working into the sides of the rows here. And what we're going to do at this point is we are going to single crochet 2 together for every 2 rows. We're going to be working like this. The single crochet row and the half double crochet row, we're going to single crochet 2 together. So right here we've got a single crochet row and then a half double crochet. So we're going to do a single crochet 2 together. So that means we're going to insert the hook into the first row, yarn over and pull up a loop, insert the hook into the second row, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. Then we're going to do it in the next 2 rows. So single crochet row, half double crochet row. We're going to insert into the first stitch, pull up a loop, insert into the second, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. Insert into the first, pull up a loop, insert into the second, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all the loops. And we're going to repeat this all the way around. This is going to decrease the circumference of our circle here by half. So we're tightening up the round, which is going to make it easier for us to do our drawstring for the base of our pumpkin. Just going to zoom through this part because it's a repeat of the same single crochet 2 together. And when I get to the end of the round, I'll show you what we're going to do next. And hey, if you're liking the video so far, don't forget to click that like button. It really helps the channel grow, and I'd really appreciate if you could take a second and click the like button. Thank you. All right, here I am at the beginning of the round. So I just did the last 2 together, and now there's one more stitch. So I'm going to pull up a loop, and then where we started the round, that first chain 1, that first single crochet we put in, I'm just going to insert the hook here, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through all of the loops on the hook to continue that 2 together. And now you can see we've got a smaller opening at the top now. Well, this is the bottom. Now we're going to do a drawstring method to pull this all together. So to do so, I am going to yarn over one more time and pull through a loop. I'm going to make a nice long tail here, pull through that loop. And now I'm going to tie a knot right here with the initial tail that we sort of carried along with us through the work. And that's just going to prevent this from moving when we're doing our little drawstring method. And now for the drawstring method, I'm going to start by making a chain with this one tail. So I'm going to make a little slip stitch here right at the tail of the work. It's the long tail piece I'm working with right now. So I'm going to make a slip stitch just like that. And then I'm going to pass the tail through that loop and draw that closed nice and tight. Pass it through again, draw it closed. I'm essentially doing a chain stitch, but I'm pulling tight the yarn in between the stitches. So instead of using the hook to make the stitch, I'm using my fingers and I'm pulling the chain stitch really tight. And that's just going to strengthen up this bit of cordage so that when we do our weaving through the stitches to drawstring the bottom closed, we have a strong thing to work with. So I'm just gonna finish with the rest of this tail here, making a nice little bit of cordage. And there we go. Then I'll just pull the remaining tail through. Now I'm gonna use my yarn needle and I will thread up my yarn needle with the tail of the yarn here. And then I'm going to weave my end here. I'm gonna weave this cord in and out of all of those single crochets that we did, just up and down through each of the stitches all the way around. And then I'll draw that cord through. And there we go. Now I'm gonna pull on that cord really nice and tight, and then using the remaining tail that we have, I'm going to tie a really nice tight knot here, just to keep that from moving. And I'll just double knot it a couple of times. And this is gonna be on the inside of the work, so we don't even need to weave in this end, which is always a benefit. And once I've got a few knots and I feel confident that that is good and secure, I'll just trim my ends down a little bit. And now it's time to turn this inside out. And this is gonna be the base of our pumpkin. So just sort of fill it out, get it nice and flat, and you can see that drawstring close that up perfectly. Oh, this could be a little baby hat, but that's not what we're making today. We're making a pumpkin. I left out one ingredient. We need stuffing. I'm gonna use this linen fiber that I have on hand to use as stuffing, but you can definitely use some pillow stuffing or some spare yarn scraps or fabric, whatever you want. This is the point where we are going to stuff the pumpkin so that it has a nice rounded shape. And there we go. I'm happy with how stuffed that pumpkin is now. And now it's time for us to make a stem. We're gonna be doing the stem today in this thin yarn. It's going to draw it in even further. So we're gonna switch to a smaller hook at this point. Forgot to mention this at the beginning, but I'm switching from a 4.5mm hook to a 3mm hook. You don't have to, but that's what I'm gonna be doing. So now I'm gonna take my green yarn, or my swampy colored yarn, and I am going to get it started on the top of the pumpkin. So we're gonna start this round the same way we did for the bottom. We're gonna pull up a loop, doesn't really matter where, but I'll do it right by the seam just to make it easier for explanation purposes. So right where the seam is, we're going to pull up a loop with our new yarn color, and then with both pieces of yarn, we're gonna chain one, then draw that down nice and tight, and then I'm gonna drop the tail, and now we're gonna do the exact same thing we did for the bottom. So we're gonna single crochet 2 together for each of the rows across. So we'll start here. Insert the hook, pull up a loop, insert the hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. And we're gonna do that all the way around. I'm gonna crochet over the tail from that green yarn so that I don't have to weave in any ends at the end of the project. All right, I made it around for the first round with my stem color. And now we're gonna do a round of single crochets. So I'm gonna join my round at the first single crochet there with a slip stitch, and then I'll chain one, and then we're gonna single crochet around. So one single crochet in each stitch around. And after this round, you'll be able to see how much that's actually been drawn in. Since we're using a much smaller hook and just one strand of yarn, the taper is going to be more drastic than at the bottom. Also, just a side note, this will totally work if you're using the same thickness of yarn. So you don't have to do it with a thinner yarn the way I am. This is just what I have on hand in this color. So if you're using the same thickness of yarn for the stem that you did for the body, it's gonna look just fine. All right, here is how it's looking after that first round of just straight single crochets. So now I'm gonna join my round again with a slip stitch at the first stitch of the round. That first chain one. It's a little bit snug, but that's okay. Just gonna fiddle around until I get it. I'll join with a slip stitch and then chain one. And I'm gonna do one more round of regular single crochets, just one round of single crochets all the way around. And then I'm gonna do another round of tapering. So single crochet around the top, and I'm gonna zoom through this part because it's just a round of single crochets, and I'll meet you at the end of the round to show you what we're gonna do next. All right, here's how it's looking after I did that second round of single crochets. Now I'm gonna join the round with a slip stitch at the top of that chain one, and then I'll start the next row with a chain one, the next round rather. Now for this next round, we're going to single crochet 2 together again. So I'm gonna insert the hook into the first single crochet, yarn over and pull up a loop. Then I'm gonna insert into the second single crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. I'm gonna repeat that in each stitch all the way around for this round. It's going to shrink the round considerably at this point. It's probably gonna be a little bit more finicky to work with, but just bear with me. It's gonna be worth it. So I'm just gonna zoom through the rest of this round, single crocheting 2 together all the way around. All right, I've just finished that round of decreases, and now we're actually done with decreases for the foreseeable future anyway. At this point, we are just going to single crochet 1 time in each stitch around, and we're gonna do that for 4 rounds. So 4 rounds where we're just putting 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and that's gonna make up the height of our stem. So I'm just gonna do 1 single crochet in each stitch around. It is finicky because of how tight the round is, but just, you can do it. I believe in you. I mean, maybe I'm talking to myself here, but I think it's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna just go ahead and do 4 rounds of single crochet just like this, and I will see you at the end of those 4 rounds to show you what we're gonna do to finish off this project. We're so close to being done, you guys. It's almost done. We can do it. All right, I just finished those 4 rows, and I'm not gonna lie to you, it was pretty hard. It's pretty finicky with a tiny hook and tiny yarn, so I think that you're probably better off using a thicker yarn for this. Now what I'm gonna do to finish up this project is I am going to single crochet 2 together for the first 2 stitches of this round. There's only like 10 stitches in the round at this point, maybe less than 10, and I'm going to single crochet 2 together for the first stitch and the second stitch, and as many stitches as it takes for me to get all the way around the work. And that's going to basically close up the top of the project. There we go. Last stitch. Single crochet 2 together to close up that top circle. Now to finish this project off, I'm going to chain, I think 5 or 10, maybe 8. There, chain 8. And then I'm gonna trim my yarn and pull that tail through, pull it nice and tight, and then I'm gonna trim it with a little bit of a tail off the end of it. And now we can sort of mush it around into shape so that the stuffing is all where it should be. And ta-da! It's finished! The cutest little pumpkin, perfect for fall, or if you've got a little one and you like to make them vegetables to play with, little crocheted vegetables. That's what I'm doing with mine. I have a previous tutorial on a zucchini, and I also now have a pumpkin to add to the pile of toy foods. Also perfect for Halloween. But what do you think, friends? I kind of love the way it tapers down to a point, almost like a little witch's hat sitting on top of our pumpkin. And by leaving that little tail, it allows for it to be curled, which is what I like to do. I like to take it in my fingers and just create a little swirl so that it sort of looks like a tendril from the pumpkin patch. And there it is. You can see the stem, it tapers down. We've got those ridges on the side of the pumpkin. The decrease on the bottom created a nice flat base, so this will sit on your countertop or in your fruit bowl, just perfect for the fall season. Let me know what you think in the comments down below of this cute little crocheted pumpkin, and let me know if you're gonna make one for yourself. By the way, friends, thank you so much to all of those supporting the channel this month. Here is the list of everyone supporting the channel. If you would like to show your support too, check out the links in the description box down below. Along with those links, you will also find all relevant tutorials linked down there for you. So if you're a little bit newer to crochet and you want to learn in more detail how to do the single crochet, the half double crochet, and the back loops only crochets, those will all be linked down there. Like I said, friends, that is all I've got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed this project, and I'll see you next week. Bye!